Alright, hello. Good morning. I hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are. I am eating breakfast, chocolate, and blueberries. And if you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen I've been tweeting a bunch of quotes from Eugene Gendlin, and those are quotes from this book, Focusing-Oriented Psychotherapy. I recently picked up a hard copy at a used bookstore, so I'm rereading it, but I figured that as I reread it, since I already have this collection of highlights, I would go back through and review the highlights and talk about them, study them a little bit more, try to expand on them for my own understanding and share them with you if it's of interest. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I think just read everything out loud, but I think for some of these highlights, it might be cool to read them out loud. So I'll play around with it and see how it goes. So again, this is Focusing-Oriented Psychotherapy, a manual of the experiential method. And I have done a thread on the latter half of this book, not with highlights, but just with my own sort of paraphrasing of things that stood out to me. That is you could probably find it if you just advanced search Twitter for my handle and the title of this book, #booknotes. But also, if you go to my pinned tweet currently, the Shift 30 for 30 thread, I do link to it in there as well. So if you want to look at that, that's where you can find it. This book really is foundational to the whole idea behind Shift 30 in that it explains how focusing is not a competing method with any other modality of therapy. You often will see from Gendlin and others that focusing isn't even really a modality of therapy, but it's just a way of orienting to oneself, and it can benefit other methods of therapy. And so that's what the topic of this book is, showing how you can improve the effectiveness of any method you choose by bringing in the felt sense as a way to check for therapeutic movement. So it's just a little bit of a summary or a nutshell. So this is interesting, right? This is in reference to teaching a client how to do focusing and how to pay attention to their felt sense. So it's not instant. You're not going to necessarily be able to do it right away. It really depends on the person. Some people are very tuned in with their bodies. Some people completely aren't. In our first session of Shift 30 on July 1st, people were talking about what is interoception and what is alexithymia. And if you identify as having alexithymia, right? An inability to notice your own emotional state, or if you don't really have any developed interoceptive capacity right now, then you're not going to notice what's going on in your body either. So it might take some time for you to begin noticing that. But if you are in touch with the interoceptive sense, right, of being able to sense your body from the inside, then this might be very easy, and it might happen like instantly. So there's no promise, there's no one way that it's going to work. And I'm glad that it's the first point here, because especially for people who are in Shift 30 or who might be interested in Shift 30 in the future, I don't want to make it seem like this is something that you can just instantly tap into, because it's not. So Shift 30 for some people might literally be just trying every day to notice what's going on in their body. You know, maybe no real big shifts happen. Maybe it's just a process of getting to know and be aware of the felt sense in your body to begin with, you know. But if that happens within 30 days, that's amazing, because that's going to impact everything you do going forward. So if you're finding that may be your experience, or that it was your experience, I really hope that you don't feel like a failure in any way, because I would say you've achieved like great success if you now are able to feel into that. And then on a practical note, for those people who are in Shift 30 and have access to the resources I put together, I really, really recommend doing the somatic meditation as much as you are comfortable doing it. I mean, every day is great, but that's not always reasonable. But that meditation is inspired by Eugene Gendlin's work, and it really is about spending, half an hour at a time focusing on your body, putting your attention in your body, in different parts of your body, so that you can begin to notice what's going on there. So I really encourage that as just sort of a basic thing for everyone to do. I'm doing that. I did it once or twice yesterday. So, okay, that's that. So this is kind of a very good summary of what the point of this book is, right? Even therapists or anybody who doesn't know focusing and doesn't necessarily use focusing can improve the work that they do with people or with themselves just by asking how what's being talked about, what's on the table, makes them feel in their body, in your tummy, right? I tweeted that one time. Just listen to your tummy, dummy. It's like, check there. Check with your body. If you just get lost in the conversation and it becomes purely intellectual, then you're gonna miss those subtle feelings, and you're gonna probably miss those little tiny movements that are key to actually experiencing change. bring the felt sense into everything that you do once you learn it. Therapy and otherwise. There is the felt sense, that small feeling in your body. Well, sometimes it's not so small, but that feeling in your body, the felt sense, which is basically the seed of where therapeutic movement comes from. If you don't notice that, you're just going to get lost in storytelling, in logic, in perspectives that are not necessarily resonating with you on any level, even though they may make sense and they may function logically, or they might connect to other narratives and points of views. If it doesn't resonate in your body, if it doesn't spark a felt sense, therapeutic movement is likely not gonna happen. And therapeutic movement is just like a fancy way of saying actual change, a felt shift. So we are not bound by the forms of the past. But contrary to what is often said today, we cannot construct just any narrative we like either. Only certain further steps bring our concrete bodily life along with them. So we can, that's kind of what I was saying before, like we can come up with a new story about ourselves, but if that story doesn't connect with our body, then it's really just in our head, right? Our living body, our felt sense. If there's just a gap, right? If there's your intellectual, mental level, and then your body's beneath that, and there's no bridge between them, if there's no connection there, then you're basically leaving your actual living experience behind. If you can explore stories and you can construct narratives, but then again, you can check in with yourself, check in with the felt sense. Is there something actually there? Do I feel a resonance here? He doesn't really talk about that. He doesn't use that word resonance, so I'm using that very casually, but does the new narrative that you're exploring or playing with, does it bring up any feeling in your body? Does it bring out any feeling of aliveness? Rob Hardy had his workshop on building non-coercive businesses. That wasn't the actual title, so sorry, Rob, for messing that up, but he talked about that this weekend. Follow the aliveness. And that's really what this is about. Noticing for the aliveness in you, right? And some stories, they're not going to bring out any aliveness, but others will. And if they do, notice that and go further into that and explore that. Right? Just like certain business practices or certain ways of marketing, they're going to be totally disconnected from you, and they're going to make you feel probably deadened. You might have to numb yourself to do it effectively, rather than noticing that, in fact, it brings out feelings of aliveness in you. And that's something to watch out for. If you have to numb yourself in order to put something into practice, maybe that's not the thing. The body referred to here is not the physiological machine of the usual reductive thinking. Here, it is the body as sensed from the inside. So this is not to say that our scientific understanding of our body and our physiology is not important, but we're not really concerning ourselves with that in this way of approaching ourselves. It's not about like knowing exactly where your heart is and knowing where all your organs is and knowing exactly how everything functions. It's not an understanding of your body from an analytical point of view. That's what interoception is getting at. Is it's a sort of sixth sense in a way. You can hear, you can smell, you can touch, you can taste, you can feel, whatever. I think I said that one already. But interoception is this other sense where you can feel the inside of your body, right? You can feel that your bladder is full. You can feel that your intestines are working, or that your stomach is full, or that it's empty. You can feel that feeling of like when your body's getting hungry and releasing gastrointestinal juices to prepare for digestion. You can feel that. Or you can feel when you're ready to use the toilet. And the interesting thing I discovered a number of years ago was if you look up interoception on Amazon, most of the results that you'll find, at least in the first couple pages, are they're books about how to sort of teach autistic children how to notice their bodies, because I guess this is something that is common with autism, is that there's this lack of interoceptive capacity, and so they don't know how to notice what's going on in their body, so they don't know how to recognize, let alone follow the signals that are coming from their body, right? Like, I just need to go to the bathroom, right? If you can't notice that feeling in your bladder, if you can't notice that pressure, or that pressure on your insides, whether it's to pee or otherwise, you're not going to know that it's time to use the restroom. So that's really important for basic biological function. And if you don't know that you need to go to the bathroom, and you just like go and you put it off and put it off and put it off because you don't even realize, there's consequences to that. Maybe you just end up peeing yourself. If you're a little kid, that very well may happen, right? All sorts of things. It's very basic. It doesn't have to be even meaningful. It's just like, if you don't know when you need to pee, you're gonna be holding pee in for a long time. Or you might pee out of nowhere, unexpectedly, because your body's like, I can't do this anymore. So Anyway, that's just an interesting thing about interoception is it's super important for basic biological function. Listening to the signals that your body is sending you, right? It's not about tracking every possible biometric. It's almost the opposite of that. It's like learning to listen and feel for those signals yourself rather than having to use an external monitor to tell me like, oh, my fucking blood sugar is whatever, or my heart rate is whatever. It's like, oh no, actually I can just feel that. Not to say that tracking those things are pointless, but you can track them without ever being able to notice them yourself. And that is basically knowing your body only from the outside. I think this has been super short, but I want to wrap up here actually. So I'll be back with more. I think this is we'll see how it goes, but this is something that I want to work through over the course of this month in July as we're doing Shift 30, since this book is so foundational to what Shift 30 is about. I do want to go back through it and really study it